wind howled like a banshee, rattling the old weathered house. Rain lashed against the windows, blurring the glass into a watery, distorted canvas. Inside, Sarah huddled beneath a thin blanket, her teeth chattering uncontrollably. The power had flickered out hours ago, plunging the house into an inky blackness. The only sound was the relentless drumming of the rain and the eerie creak of the house settling. A sudden, sharp crack of thunder echoed through the room, followed by a blinding flash of lightning. In that brief, illuminating moment, Sarah saw it, a dark, shadowy figure moving outside the window. It was too quick to be a deer, too large to be a raccoon. It moved with a sinister grace, its form shifting and changing in the flickering light. Fear, cold and clammy, gripped Sarah's heart. She pulled the blanket tighter around her, her eyes wide with terror. She knew she shouldn't look, but she couldn't tear her gaze away from the window. The figure moved closer, its face obscured by the darkness. A low, guttural growl emanated from its throat, sending shivers down Sarah's spine. The figure paused, its gaze fixed on the window. Sarah held her breath, her heart pounding in her ears. Then, as suddenly as it had appeared, the figure vanished into the night. The silence that followed was deafening. Sarah's mind raced, trying to make sense of what she had seen. Was it real, or was it just a trick of the light, a figment of her overactive imagination? She couldn't be sure. As she lay there, her thoughts spiraled out of control. She thought of the old tales her grandmother used to tell, tales of creatures that lurked in the shadows, waiting to claim unsuspecting victims. Could those stories be true? Could the creatures of the night be real? The wind picked up, rattling the window panes. Sarah jumped, her heart pounding. She knew she couldn't stay there alone and afraid. She had to get out of the house to find help. But where could she go? The storm was raging, the roads were impassable. She was trapped. As she lay there listening to the howling wind and the relentless patter of the rain, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. She glanced at the window, but the figure was gone. Or was it? Suddenly, she heard a noise from downstairs. A low, scratching sound, like claws scraping against the floorboards. Sarah's blood ran cold. She knew she had to be brave, to face whatever was lurking in the darkness. Slowly, she got up from the bed and crept towards the stairs. As she descended the stairs, the scratching sound grew louder. A cold draft swept through the house, sending a shiver down her spine. She reached the bottom of the stairs and peered into the darkness. The scratching sound was coming from the living room. With trembling hands, Sarah reached for the light switch. As the room lit up, she gasped. Standing in the middle of the room was a tall, shadowy figure. Its face was obscured by the darkness, but its eyes glowed with an unnatural light. The figure turned slowly, its gaze locking onto Sarah. A low, guttural growl emanated from its throat. Sarah screamed, her voice echoing through the empty house. The figure lunged, its claws outstretched. Sarah turned and ran, her heart pounding in her chest. She raced through the house, the figure in hot pursuit. She burst through the front door and into the night, the rain soaking her to the bone. She ran and ran until she could run no more. She collapsed to the ground, gasping for breath. The figure was gaining on her, its shadow looming over her. Just as the figure was about to reach her, a blinding flash of light enveloped her. The figure recoiled, its form dissolving into the darkness. Sarah looked up, her eyes wide with disbelief. Standing before her was a tall, hooded figure, its face obscured by shadow. "Are you all right, child?" the figure asked, its voice deep and soothing. Sarah nodded, unable to speak. "The storm is passing," the figure said. "You should go back inside." Sarah hesitated. She didn't know who this person was, but she knew she couldn't stay out in the storm. She thanked the figure and turned to go. "Wait," the figure said. "There is something you should know." Sarah turned back, her curiosity piqued. "The mist is coming," the figure said. "It will bring with it creatures of darkness, beings that will feed on fear." Sarah's heart pounded. She had heard the stories, the legends of the mist, but she had never believed them. "You must be strong, child," the figure said. "You must face your fears and fight for your survival." With those words, the figure turned and vanished into the night. Sarah was left alone, the storm raging around her. She knew that the mist was coming, and with it, the creatures of darkness. She knew that she would have to face her fears and fight for her survival.